All right, hi everyone. My name is An, and I'm from the Zone. I'm lead intern, and I'll be doing the painting today. It's called Starry Night. And this is my co-host Priscilla. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. As Anne said, my name is Priscilla and I'm also a Zone intern. So if you have any questions, please write them down in the chat. I will try to answer them as quickly as I can, and I will also be posting the reference picture throughout the session multiple times, probably like every 20 minutes or so, every 15 minutes. So if you need the reference picture, just let me know and I'll post it again in the group chat. And now up to Millie, so she can introduce herself.
I'm Millie. I already spoke, but again, welcome. So I'll just go back to on.
Yes, so this Paint Night is a partnership event that we have with HDH. So let's start off, and let me know if you have any questions. Type it in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions as well. All right, so first off, before I start, sorry for the wire. All right, so this is the painting that we'll be doing today. I know it looked a bit different from the reference picture, and that's because I just wanted to add a little bit more. Again, so sorry we're starting a little bit late, but I'll try to get through all of this as much as possible. So this is the Starry Night that we'll be doing today, and you see here the colors that I'll be using. I'll also be using this little template right here to show it. So you can actually see like what colors I'll be using, and then you can mix accordingly. And I'll show you how to mix the colors as well. So first thing that you'll be doing, actually a quick note also. So these are the two versions that I did, just like to test it out to see. But just note that every time you do a painting, it'll always be a little bit different from each other. So don't worry if your painting looks a little bit different from mine. Watercolor tends to kind of bleed sometimes sporadically. So just, it'll look great at the end, I'm pretty sure. So just follow the strokes and let the color bleed freely. So this is a little bit different from the paintings we did before where there's a lot of detail. Today the sky is more light and more chaotic in a way. All right, let's start off with, let's use a paintbrush that's a bit thick like this one. You can use this kind of brush or this one as well if you have it at home. If not, you can use any regular brush to just wet the paper. Actually, before we wet the paper, let me just show you here what I'll be sketching on here. So this is for you. Choose any character that you like. So I chose just myself here as a silhouette, and this is a cat companion that I have, kind of inspired by Animal Crossing right now, because that's my favorite game right now. So let's start off. I hope this is clear enough for everyone. So let's start off with just marking about 1/3 from the bottom up here. So 1/3 here. Let's mark the two sides, and then you'll be making a very light curved downwards line. Make sure it's not too dark because watercolor is very light, so you might still see the pencil lines. So the next thing you'll be doing is, for your companion, you can do a rabbit or a cat or any animal you want. So I'm going to do a cat again. So what I'm going to do is draw a circle for the head. A circle that is actually a little bit ovally like that. Draw the two ears. Like that. And this would be just a silhouette, so we don't have faces or anything. The next thing is draw like a little diagonal line for the body. Let me know if I'm going too fast. And then draw the hand, the left hand from our perspective. The left hand goes upwards, kind of pointing at the sky. And have this hand point down. So as you can see, I drew the cat over here for now. And the next character is ourselves, or any character that you want. So first draw an oval that is like vertically long, like that. A little bit small, I'd say half the size of the cat. And then draw the nose. I hope that's clear. You can add a little ponytail. And then have her neck right here. And draw kind of a slanted down rectangle like this. And her hands just freely float down like this. Or if you want, you can also have her wave, but I just like the look of her hands down like that. All right, now we're ready to wet the paper. So grab your thick brush and wet the paper, basically following this curved line upwards. Start here. So for me, it really helps using either painter's tape or washi tape. Tape that basically doesn't like rip off your papers. Make sure it's safe to make a border so that the water doesn't lift up, and also it'll give you like this nice white border at the end when you peel it off. That really helps. So there you go. Now that the paper is wet, we have to kind of work a little bit fast because the paper needs to be wet for the paint to actually run and bleed. So I'm going to use this kind of brush. You can also use a smaller brush if you want, or even this brush would work too. And let's dip into this color, which is this blue right here. So on the palette, if you have this palette, then you can use this color right here. I think it's an aqua blue or a sky blue almost. This would be aqua actually, yeah. And just start. And if it's like too dark, then you can always add a little bit of water to kind of bleed it out like that. There you go. Drag it a little bit, and if it's a little bit light, add a little bit more color. The trick here is that make sure that it's not too dark so that the lines are crisp, so you want it to bleed, but at the same time don't put too much water where it's overflowing. So right now we have a little stroke of blue. All right, and then continue to take the same shade of blue, aqua blue, to go around up here. 1 second. Up here, just have it run across here. And I like to have like a little piece of paper on the side here to just like get rid of some color if it's too dark. And then some on the side. So the direction that the paint is going to go is basically, if you look here, the paint goes kind of curved inwards, following the curve at the bottom. So it goes here, and as you can also see, it's darker on the side. So we'll achieve that effect once we hit the purple color. So continue to add a little bit of color on this side. Again, if it looks like this, you can always add some water. There you go. Lightens it out a little bit. And just add a little bit of water again around to make sure it's wet. Right. Let's adjust a little bit more in the middle here. See, now if you can see, this part is a little bit dark, so what you can do also to get rid of the darkness, you can just kind of take off the water. If you make any mistake like that, it'll help. Not just a little bit of light blue here. All right. All right, the next color that we'll be using is this one right here, which is a darker sky blue instead of aqua blue. And on this palette, I'll be using this color right here. So again, I think the paper starts to dry out now. Little ant. If the paper is drying out, then just use a little bit more water first. And let's say I want to paint it right here, the dark blue. Put some water there a little bit and then add the color in after. As you can see, it shows up a bit softer if you have the water there. And this can be mixed with the aqua blue as well. All right, now it looks like actually like a daytime sky, but we want to achieve a nighttime sky. So we're gonna add like a bunch of more layers afterwards. All right, so now we have a little bit of dark sky blue there. And then we'll add a little bit more on this side as well. So again, this is the sky that you can also just use the colors that you want, because these are just purples and blues. You can also use other colors like pinks or orange. All right. Now we have that, add a little bit on the side here. And also make sure to kind of stay away a little bit from, about an inch away from this line right here, because we'll add a yellow shade later. All right, let's add just a little bit more to darken the corner. All right, now we'll be moving on using this almost purple blue, more blue actually. Navy? Yeah, let's use this dark blue, and on this palette it is this shade right here. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but I hope this palette shows. So we're using this color right here. So again, if the paper dried, make sure to add some water. Okay, so we use that color and add a bit more here. Again, if there's excess water, always use your napkin and just take some off. Right, and we'll also be adding it on this side. Let's use a bit more color here. All right, let's add a bit more on this side as well. As you go to the middle, the center, make sure the strokes are a bit lighter. So here you can push it back out here so it's dark on the side. All right. So now we'll be moving on to using this purple color. So this purple color you can mix using blue and red. Let me show you real quick. I'm gonna use this blue right here and a red shade on your palette. Here. And put some red in. There you go. Now you got a purple shade. All right. So again, take a bit of water and do the corner on this side. Take some water off if it's too much. Yeah, so here it's getting darker, so I would dab that off. There you go. And then add some more water to dilute it. And let's take this purple and also add it to this side. Same curve down motion as well. So there's a bit of water again. Take that off. Yeah, so I was trying to do a more of a blue side on this side and then a purple shade on this side, more dominant purple. All right, and then now let's take the same purple and just dilute it a bit more with water and go around here where there's a lot of white. You can see the colors start to mix and it creates this really cool, almost celestial effect. Let's add a bit of water here. Yeah, so now we have our first layer. While this first layer dries, let's paint on the yellow layer that I mentioned earlier that will be closer to the horizon. So clean up your brush, make sure there's no blue or purple on it, and we'll be using this color right here, this light yellow, the yellow. And on the palette, if you have the same palette, it's this one. So let's take water again. Let's take actually some clean water and just brush it lightly around here first, just to wet the paper because it might have dried by now. All right, and we'll take this light yellow and start to add it. So see, if you wet the paper first, it bleeds way more and the color is more diluted. So that's what you want for the horizon here. And don't worry if it colors over the characters, we'll be coloring the silhouettes afterwards. It's a bit shadowy. All right. Just add a bit more color as you get closer to the horizon. All right, and now let's use the same technique using a darker shade of yellow. I'd say this is more like an orange color. Looks more orange on camera as well. So that color is right here. You can mix it with this if you want it to be a bit darker. I think I like it to be just a bit darker, so I'm going to mix these two together. And for this, go really lightly. Dilute the color a lot. It's going to be on top. It's going to be on top of the yellow, connecting the blues later on. Again, the motion is very shaky, kind of, it's like a shaky technique, I guess. I always like rock my brush like this and then dry off my brush to dilute this blob of paint right here. So now if you can see it, like, kind of creates this ombre effect. Let's add it to this side. So there, it's too dark here. So let's add some water to dilute it. There you go. Right, let me know if I'm going too fast. So now we have to wait a little bit for the water to dry off. There's a lot of water at the bottom right now, so let's just fan it off a little bit. All right. So while we're waiting for both layers to dry a little bit more right now, let's start at the bottom. So I want to, actually I think it's, yeah. Let's start to paint the bottom black layer first, just the first layer. We'll build up on top. So we'll be using a black color right here, black watercolor, and use less water this time instead of making the color diluted like this. We want it to be building on top of each other and actually be quite dark and solid. So let's try to do the first layer. So of course the first layer won't be as dark, but we'll build up like a few layers more after. So right now it looks a bit gray, but that's totally fine. If you have acrylic color, actually, if you have acrylic black, you can also use acrylic. I think that will be much more effective because it covers like using black color, you can cover the surface actually way faster, and it's also much more solid, but this will do for now. So be careful here. If you actually accidentally touch this yellow part and it's starting to mix together, that's totally fine. Just try to stay away from it if you can. We'll be connecting them later once that yellow part dries. So right now, let's just do the layer underneath it. Let me know if anyone's struggling with this, because I know I was trying to build up the black earlier and it just took so long because the water just dilutes it all the time. So I think I learned the technique of using way less water. So if the first time you have so much water on it, definitely dab it off on your napkin and then take more black and just build it on top. We'll get there. All right. I think this is good for now, and then we'll move back to the sky. So let's clean up our brush. Black. Make sure there's no black, and then add a second layer of paint on the sky. So now what we're going to do is add this shade to it, which is a more pink tone. So that would be this color right here. You can use either pink or red. I think red would look nice as well. I think my color palette has a slightly pink tint to it. So as I use this color right here, it is a little bit more pink than red. I think I like this more than the other red because it looks too orange, but this looks fine. All right, so let's dab our brush in first in water and pick the location that you want to add the red. I'm going to pick this part right here, put some water here. Just wet it first, and then take this color and just start adding it on top. There you go, you got that strong red going. Just take some water and dilute it. And again, if it's too dark, just brush it off. And you got that little stroke of red or pink. Right, and then again, I want to add a little stroke right here. Just add some water here. And then take your pink or red and add it. There you go, you see it bleeding. Just let it naturally bleed down. Like that. And feel free to add it anywhere else. I'm going to probably add it more here too because it's a bit blank. So let me wet this part. And as you get to the bottom here too, try to keep it light. Like this area should be the lightest part. So I'm adding a little bit of water. Add your pink or red right here. It's a bit dark, so I'm just gonna dab it off. Dilute with some water. Now it looks like clouds or cotton candy. And then one more section on this side. Add some pink. All right, and then now that we're done with the pink layer, let's go back to using this purple shade right here and layer it on top on the right corner. So let's mix the purple again. So that was this dark blue mixed with the red. So again, let's put some water on the corner first, just to wet the paper again. And take the purple color that you just made and add some more on top. So now you add, and when you add it, it looks much darker than before because we have a second layer now. All right. And again, if you see these crisp lines right here, that's totally fine if you like it to look that way. I like to make it mainly, I think mostly soft. So a lot of it needs to be diluted with water again. So there you go. And let's take the purple again and make the corner even darker. And this time don't use too much water because it's already wet. Let's add some dark purple in the corner, just like that. There. All right. Now let's move on to using this blue shade again, this dark blue here. So we'll be using that shade for the left corner. So let's wet the paper once again, not too much, just enough to, okay, yeah, it hasn't dried too much yet, but I think this is fine. Let's use that dark blue that we used before for that corner and layered on top. Again, dilute your brush. Maybe right here. Just kind of spread it out. All right, so this last part, so that's our second layer. Another layer that I want to add is like right here where all the white part is. For this, we're going to use this blue right here, the aqua blue, and use a lot of water for it to dilute it because we'll create like this Very, very soft shade of blue. So let's take the aqua blue, make it really dilute, and start adding it to the middle. Fill it in here, and you can start connecting the yellow part and the orange part right here. Take some clean water and mix them here. So now you can do like any corrections that you want to do before we start adding the stars and also finish painting the silhouettes. I also like to add a little bit of like some clouds right here on the side that we can also add later. Let me do some just corrections. So I want to add just a bit of pink more on the sides right here. So when the watercolor dries, it might lighten up your colors. So if you might want to make it a little bit more saturated, you can definitely add some more. Just make sure to use that technique that we always do, which is using like a bit of clean water and dampen it first, and then add the color on top, like that. And then my last correction is just adding a bit more pink on this side. There you go. All right. Check the yellow. I think it's mostly dry now. So let's clean up your brush. And this time, actually no, I'll use the same brush first, and then for the trees later, I'll use a smaller brush. All right, so let's use this black shade that we used before for the bottom and layer it on top for the second layer. So see, as you can see now, it's much darker once you layered it on top. Right, and here, follow the line that you drew before. Oops. And just gently, like I said again, do not use too much water for this part, so that it's more clean. These lines need to be more crisp. Right. And feel free to take some time to correct it. I know it took me a while to actually get this line super clean, especially with a bigger brush. So feel free to also maybe grab a smaller brush and like go over this line if you wanted to make it really crisp. All right. So now I'm going to use a much smaller brush. Actually, no, I'll do the trees after we do this, the stars. Yeah, so for the stars, for watercolor, the white is a little bit too translucent. It's very see-through. So I think I would recommend using acrylic for the stars. So if you want to make the white show up better, then you would want to use acrylic white. If not, you can also use a gel pen that has basically that has basically like very solid white. You can use that as well. Other than that, you can still use watercolor white. You just have to layer it on top much more. So that might take some time. But feel free, you know, after the painting is dry, you can always add the stars afterwards if you want it to show up more. So let's go in with the stars. So what I like to do, okay, let's get some paint first, and then what I like to do is instead of scattering them like equally everywhere, I'm gonna try to do something like, actually for everyone who's using watercolor white, make sure your sky is mostly dry so that the white doesn't just kind of mix in with the colors. So you can always do this later, as I said again. I'm just gonna show you how I do my stars for now. So what I try to do is like you have like a big star like that, and quite big star like that, and then you have small stars surrounding it. Like that, because not all stars have the same size. They also have like different brightnesses. So, oops, different brightnesses. So keep in mind they're not the same size. And you have another spot right here maybe, and surround it with stars, small little baby stars too. There you go. Maybe a few more baby stars in the corner. Right, and then let's go on this side, big star, and then some baby stars following the big star around it. There you go. I think the cool thing to do is also maybe do some shapes out of the stars. Those look really cool. I just can't think of one right now on top of my head. Right. Add some stars maybe at the bottom as well. There we go, some baby stars. And then, all right, so let's add this. After you add your small stars first, let's make this big shooting star. Big Dipper, yes. I don't remember what it looks like. If you have it, or you know how to draw them, definitely draw them on there and let me know what it looks like. Yeah, so now we're gonna add this big shooting star right here. There's also one small one right here, if you can see, zoom in right here. And this one definitely looks more like an Animal Crossing shooting star. But for this one, let's start with that. So pick the spot you want it to be at, and then have its tail kind of stretch along this side. So let's make a dot first. Make a dot first. Make sure to use like a brush that's more precise. You can do details on this. So from the dot, just drag it out like upwards, very thin stroke upwards, and then have a stroke downwards and a stroke to the right and left. Looks like a plus sign for now. And then for the diagonal strokes, I like to do the diagonal strokes a little bit away from the actual center. I don't know if this is clear. Let me show you the shape that I'm trying to do real quick. So the shape of the star, let's use this. So you have this middle stroke, right? Like here, you have a middle stroke, and then up, down, right, left, and then you have the diagonal strokes kind of coming just like this. They're away from the center. So I'm sorry if it's not too clear on my camera. Right, so let's finish the diagonal strokes. There you go. This kind of reminds me of nail art. My mom used to do nail art and makes like all these cool patterns on her nail. I remember being really frustrated when I tried it out because it's so small. Thankfully our canvas is not small, so not struggling. All right, and then add some more white to the center so it stands out more. It's more solid. There you go, you got your big star right there. Now get some water with the white and kind of trace out where you want the tail to be. So I want the tail to go something like this. And I have the tail that's closer to the actual star be a bit darker, or darker, but more solid in white, so you can actually see it here. And then the rest of the tail is kind of disconnected a little bit. And then it fades out more as it gets to the end. Yeah, so you don't want like a whole solid line going all the way across. You want it to be fading away at the end. All right, let's create our second star. Wait a little bit just for folks to catch up. Add some stars on here. All right. Now for the second star, it is a little bit smaller, so the shape is different. And this one is more of just a plus sign. So again, locate where you want the second star to be. It can be anywhere. I have mine be right here. So again, create a dot to locate it and then create a plus sign. Try to make the ends of the plus sign a little bit thinner. It's a bit hard to see. They diluted it a little bit too much. Okay, there you go. All right. And again, for this one, since the star is a bit smaller, you don't have to drag the tail all the way across. Oh, sorry, we're over on time, but I think I'm almost done. So, and let's drag the tail. Add a bit more white here. And just have it stop right there. All right. Let's finish the bottom part and color in the silhouettes. So that's one of the last parts. There's another optional part, as I mentioned before. You can add clouds as well. Just make sure when you do add the clouds, it'll follow the same shape that we've been trying to do with the colors in the sky. And then the top part is like white, so it stands out more. I'll try to show it later too, but I know we are over on time. I'll try to get as much done as possible. So, all right, let's go back to the black color that we used down here and choose, I'd say, actually use a more precise brush. So like use the same brush that you used for your stars, clean it up right here, a smaller precise brush, and you use this black without using too much color. I mean too much water, because you want to make the trees look solid. So let's start from the side here. So it's basically small little pine trees. And you don't have to draw the whole tree. It'll only show the top of the tree. Like that. draw a little, it kind of looks like a little triangle, and then maybe some little baby triangles next to it. And as you get to the center, the triangles get smaller. So it's just like this. So again, I'm gonna color over this. Some trees that are closer to the edge will be a bit bigger. And then in the middle, it'll be smaller spikes, like that. So again, let's do the other side. Have that big tree on the side, you can see here. And then another one here. It gets smaller once you get to the center. Yeah, and I try to not make the trees too equally separated from each other, so when they do look a little bit too even, I add a little baby tree next to it, so it looks more natural. Right? Priscilla, how we doing?
You're doing good.
Were you able to follow along? Am I going too fast?
No, you're not going too fast. You're actually making it so much easier than I expected and anticipated.
Did it look really complicated?
I just have, I don't know how to do like clouds or like make the sky look so pretty. So I was a little nervous that my colors will all mix up. And they didn't, so I'm happy.
Yay! I'm excited to see what it looks like. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm glad. Yeah, no, that's my same reaction when I learned this. I was like, how did she make it so perfect? But yeah.
It seems a lot complicated than it actually is. So hopefully at the end, I'll try to show you what I did, and then hopefully everyone else also shows what they did, and then so we can encourage each other's art. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So final part. Let's draw in our silhouette. So for this, you do have to be a bit careful, just to make sure. I know. So the bigger the silhouette, the easier it is to color. So I made mine a bit small, so it might be harder to color in. So I draw the body. Let's draw in the arm. And again, for this part, do not use too much water. So you want the black to be really solid. Wow. Using a precise brush makes the, for some reason, the black way more dark. Wow. Okay. Color in the head very carefully. What animal did you use, Priscilla?
I kind of copied you, and I also drew a little cat.
Nice.
But the girl in my drawing has bangs like me, so.
Nice. Oh no! I added a little bang for the cat. Okay, let's fix this. She'll have a bigger head.
That's okay. That's okay.
You don't even notice it. See? Yeah, sometimes you can just fix it up if you, you have little mistakes like that. It's a bit tedious, but all right. We got the cat. And then now let's move on to the person. Again, like another example here is for this one. This person's wearing a cap, so it kind of looks like Ash from Pokemon. But there's a bunny on this side that kind of looks like Pikachu. That was actually unintentional, but it turned out that way. So you can do that. All right, So let's start on her head. A little nose here because she's looking to the side. And then her ponytail. And then let's draw her neck here. And also don't worry if you were not able to watch the beginning or if you came late, you can always check our YouTube channel. I think we have it up starting next week, so you can rewatch it and follow along as well. So I did it a bit fast, but feel free to take some time to perfect the details, make the lines more crisp. There you go. Let me add some bangs too, actually. I like the way it looks. There you go. I drew Priscilla. All right. Oh, thank you. Yes. All right. So the last part, as I said before, will be the clouds. So for this, again, you can use watercolor white for this one. It still shows up pretty well as I tested before, but acrylic white, again, shows up much better. So let's take a clean brush, medium size like this. So a bit bigger than the detailed brush that we used earlier. Let's dip into white. Dilute it with water a little bit first. So dilute the white, and then we'll use this diluted white to write the first cloud on the right here. So I'm going to start to make the shape go upwards like this, and then get a little bit bigger as you get to the side right here. So it's like circles, just draw circles like this going upwards. So now you have like a little bit of a light light white here, translucent white going up. And now we're going to use a bit more white, less water. So maybe dry off the water a bit and then just use the white. And again, do some circle motions here, but only the top of the cloud. Like that. If it's too even, you can always make some bumps like this. Look more natural. Yeah. And then the top of it, use even more white, so it's like this. And if you think that it's too crisp or too much white, then you can always dilute the bottom a little bit like this so that it's more natural. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, so the same technique, just use, I usually just add 4 clouds, so like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can always do less or more if you want. Again, down here, sketch up the cloud first with a diluted white. That. I hope this shows up. Okay. And then now take the water off on your napkin and then use more white on top again. Doesn't this look like an anime scene already? And then have a little bit of like some bits, like right here. If you have the whole cloud right here, you can have some bits kind of fall off, like kind of separate itself from the actual big cloud over here. Kind of looking like it's floating away to the distance. Yeah. Right. Let's do a third cloud. Can't believe people are still here. We're 20 minutes over. All right. And then for this one, I like to start the clouds not like in the same level, so it doesn't look too like symmetrical. So maybe lower it down to here. And since it's touching the star, I'm gonna try to avoid it. So it still shows up. So you have the cloud here and add some more white on top. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. Great, there you go. Okay, I think I'll just leave it at 3 clouds. Right. So that's the painting. I hope everyone was able to follow along. If you were able to successfully create this, definitely show us, tag us on Instagram. You